about 200 metres up from the creek. If you can see, a couple of blackwoods, but it's mainly eucalypts. And there's also great clearings, like down there, of bracken and grasses. And over here we've got a black boy community. We can see that there's the forest. It's made up of many different communities, just like in society. You know, people say racism, or there's racism, there's multiculturalism doesn't work. But when you think about it, over there we've got a community of black boys. Then we've got a community of gums. There we've got a clump of blackwoods. Over here, there's a clump of grasses and bracken and other ground covers. We can just see how they all commingle to create an amazing, diverse, life form. And that's what, through studying nature, we can actually apply this to our own lives. And we can see in our cities that, all these different diverse cultures can still honour, and respect their belief systems and, glorify what makes them unique. Like there's a massive opening of, clearing of, grasses, bracken and so forth. Little blackwood community. We can just see how it all ties together as a community. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, thank you, God. As we get a bit lower, see, that dark green blackwood. And the lower we get, if we go back here, there's an idea of the different communities. Grassland and bracken. Then the forest. A bit thicker, and then, the odd tree, and then, but see how it all commingles and creates and sustains life in all its intricacies. It supports the myriad forms of life, from lizards to insects to birds to kangaroos, marsupials. There's a big burley. See, now the lower we get, getting towards the creek, the denser it gets. That's for a number of factors. One is the moisture it gathers, it runs down the hill, runs down into the gully, into the creeks, and of course that's a damper area, so that supports you could say a wetter, a more lush community. The trees can actually, they've got enough moisture, enough energy to pump out, how can I say it, more life on their leaves. Their leaves are a lot thicker, their canopy's a lot thicker, whereas the gums are a lot sparse. They don't have as many nutrients feeding to provide such a, how can I say it, to defy gravity in such a manner. And then, so the moisture's gathering down, and also it's getting more shady because it's, as the hill comes down, it converges into another hill on the other side. And so, of course, the sloping down in, there's not as much land, how can I say it, land cover exposed to the sun. It's steeper, and so there's less exposed to daylight. And then as the forest the lush forest grows up. That's what happens. Still, you know, you can see the distinct communities. The eucalypts, then your blackwoods, then your grass, your ground covers. So it's getting really dense. You can see the eucalypts are dying out. As that gets lusher, a whole new community comes in. New mycelium, new belief systems, just like, for example, in Melbourne, there's the traditionally Box Hill, Dandenong, all Anglo-Saxon, and now at the moment it's all, you know, Asian and so forth. A new community comes in, and you know, it brings with it a new belief system, but also brings it with such diversity, and it creates and sustains life. You can see the eucalypts dying through there. They're getting replaced with the lusher rainforest. And in no way is this proper rainforest. It's got the beginnings of a rainforest with the pioneer species. So it's the blackwood, pomaderus through there, and you can see the bracken, the actual fern cover is getting a lot lusher, a lot denser, which will in turn shade the ground even more, create richer topsoil, which in turn produces a lusher canopy growth. And then down here we can see there's a gully through there, which in times of great rain would flow. At the moment I don't think it's flowing, it might be a mere trickle. It's either spring fed, or springs are often, you know, groundwater that's stored in mulch and so forth. We can see down through that gully, it's a lot denser. And again, a different community. Eucalypts are still here, they're open canopy, which obviously lets a lot more light in. It's more open to fire and so forth. When we get down here, it's a lot denser. There's a lot more, how can we say it, moisture, nutrients, food that feeds a lush canopy, which in turn shades the ground, creates rich topsoil, and then over time promotes and expands this. If this doesn't burn and so forth, this lush canopy will spread up the hill, and eventually these eucalypts will die out, where you can see back before there's a few of them dying out, and then the rainforest will come back. And as we get further down, we'll really start to see the beginnings of the rainforest. A lot lusher. You can see even these bracken ferns, they're getting larger. Still the same soil, it's just sandy, originally all sand. And with the leaves, all this stuff falling and breaking down over the years, it creates a sandy loam. You can just see it. It's basically sand with a bit of mulch mixed through it. And then you've got plenty of life in there. If I pull that back, you can really start to see how much life is in there. And that's just simply sand with a bit of leaf litter and mulch. And then as we come further down, this gives you an idea of how wet this gets in here. There's a boardwalk, so obviously it's a swamp if not. And so this is, now we're in the bottom of the gully. Look at that blackwood there, through there, it's covered in, it's a mossy Boston. And you can see the way it's grown on the angle. All the other trees are upright and steady. This one's grown on the angle. Obviously there was a tree growing above it, it's grown out on the angle, growing towards the light as all trees do. And look at this fallen. And an area where logs aren't allowed to decompose on the ground, they're either burnt or salvaged. You won't have this, and this is what's feeding the whole community. This log will feed it for the next 50, 100 years. You can see all the moss, lichen, I like those guys, and the fungi. They just come right through and they feed on this and then spread it through like an internet. They spread it through the soil, and it's like a network. It's the underlying connection with it all. And now we're on the boardwalk. We're sort of at the lowest point, and yeah, you can start to see what happens when in a low depression or gully. That's where the moisture obviously gathers, and you've got there's a blackwood that's growing towards the light there. You got more fallen logs, different species growing in here. And if fire never comes through here, these blackwoods, they'll all grow. And as more seeds dropped in here, you get diverse species growing through here. And we're walking through, it's only a small gully. It's a lot cooler in here. There's just a lot more canopy, so there's less shade. Oh, there's more shade. There's less sun hitting the earth. And then, as we walk back up out of the gully, it starts to get more open. And there's back up the hill. And again, back up the hill. Beautiful old mossy Boston there. Look at him. Again, a lot more open canopy, lets a lot more light through, which in turn dries out or exposes the soil, the ground to more sun, which in turn will dry out, more open and prone to fire. And down there, that's where it's going back towards rainforest. There's still eucalypts in there, but you can see if that's not burnt and it's left to go back of its own accord, we'll have these pomaderus and blackwoods and so forth, and then a cover of ferns and so forth, different layers. A rainforest layer will replace this woodland layers. That basically sums it all up. Light, shade, moisture, the elements of the earth. Really the elements that guide and influence all life. That's what produces these forests and mould, and so by utilising and, how can we say it, applying these principles, that's when we can create any landscape we want. A landscape that benefits both nature and humanity, mankind.